Hello and welcome to my video. Today I'd like to share my experience and thoughts on traveling on Eurostar train. In September 2024, I traveled from London's St. Pancras International Station to Amsterdam's Central Station on Eurostar. I arrived at the station just about 9 o'clock on Monday morning for an 11 o'clock departure. As you enter the building, there are many shops and cafes in this part of the station. I proceeded through the security check and then passport control after that. There is a waiting area in this restricted part of the station. You can grab some food and beverage. Departure information screens are everywhere. You can find a seat and relax while you wait for your train. However, I found this area pretty crowded and even a little unpleasant and claustrophobic. There's not enough seating for the number of people that have to stay here. Finally, the platform number for my train was announced and it was time to board. They tell you to arrive 60 to 90 minutes prior to departure. I got to the station almost 2 hours before, but got through the inspections very quickly, so I had to spend quite a lot of time in this crowded waiting area. Now that I have boarded and settled in, I'm checking things around my seat. The first thing I noticed was this little mirror in front of me. Then, when you lower the tray table, there is a seat pocket behind it. There is another pocket underneath the table and a footrest that I never use. To the side, there's a cup holder and a little lighting above it. To be honest, I'm not sure how useful this cup holder is. The hole was too small for any plastic cup to fit through. There is a plug outlet and a USB port underneath it as well. This lever under the armrest will push the seat forward, giving it a small recline. The armrest can be pulled up. Looks like you can store some small items in this groove. There is a reading light above the armrest, but it is hard to figure out how to turn it on and off. Turns out that this little bump, hardly noticeable unless you lift the armrest, and it's not even a button, is the switch for the reading light. If you really look, notice it looks like a light bulb. Very user unfriendly, I think. The train departed right on time this time, but I remember the nightmare. In March of 2019, I took the Eurostar from Paris to London. The Brexit process was ongoing then. There were already 2 passport controls in place, one for exiting the EU and one for entering the UK, but they weren't processing people fast enough. I arrived at the station at 5:45 a.m. for the 7 o'clock departure, thinking it was plenty of time. But the station was a mess. There were multiple long lines for different departures, and the lines were moving at a crawling speed. I was still standing in line past the departure time. I was actually traveling to Glasgow that day, and I had another train to catch in London. The Eurostar train departed half an hour late, and I barely made it to the next train to Glasgow. By the way, I forgot to mention that I am in what's called the Standard Premier class. This class, with a 2-1 seat configuration, provides extra spacious seat and a light cold meal, snacks, and beverages served at your seat. Here's what my meal looks like. Some chicken with orzo salad and a dollop of cheese on the main dish, a piece of bread, and a chocolatey dessert, plus a bottle of water, and I also got a red wine. There was coffee and tea service after the meal. We'll talk about the meal service some more later. Overall, the seat is plenty comfortable, feels very much like the standard first-class seat on other trains in Europe. However, it doesn't really give you much of a premium feel. I also do not like this chopped-up cabin. There are too many partitions that take away any sense of spaciousness. Eurostar offers 3 classes of service: Standard, Standard Premier, and Business Premier. Standard is your typical 2x2 seat configuration with no frills. Standard Premier is 1x2 seat configuration, so there is more space and seat functions, and you get a light cold meal, some snacks, and beverage. Business Premier is the highest class. Although the seating is the same as Standard Premier, this class gives you access to lounge, dedicated fast-track gate, and a full gourmet hot meal served with champagne, according to their website. However, the ticket price for this was nothing I could afford. Curiously though, this kind of multi-tiered class structure is not very common in Europe. I have only seen it in Italy's Frecciarossa trains, which runs for Trenitalia in Italy, and Spain's Ideo. However, for a very similar service, Spain's Ideo is much less expensive. For example, Eurostar's Business Premier between London and Paris was well over $400, whereas Ideo's highest class, Infinita Bistro, between Madrid and Barcelona was as low as €82, or about $92. Interestingly, Eurostar is making a slight change after November 4th, 2024. It will still be the same 3-class structure, but they will be called Eurostar Standard, Eurostar Plus, and Eurostar Premier. The only differences that caught my eyes are, first, the word champagne is disappearing from the dining description for the Eurostar Premier. Second, stations in the Netherlands, Amsterdam and Rotterdam, are being excluded from the list of lounges Premier customers can access. At the time of posting this video, there is some concern that the Eurostar would suspend services in the Netherlands in 2025 as their rail network problem is forcing to reduce speed, and due to the closure of the international terminal at Amsterdam Central Station, which is forcing the passengers to disembark at Brussels for passport inspection. Okay, a bathroom break. This is a normal-looking lavatory. I wonder if there are any so-called premium features added to this, since this is located in a premium coach. This is a little odd. It reads, "Our taps are a little slow to get going. Please bear this in mind when washing your hands." It is a little different faucet. It did take a while for it to respond and get water going, and water pressure is rather low. Still okay for washing hands though. The hand dryer works fine. Overall, the lavatory was perfectly fine. There is Wi-Fi on board as advertised, and there was no problem connecting. However, the speed was rather pathetic. This could be another source of frustration if you counted on it to work. I said earlier that Eurostar service between London and Amsterdam might be suspended in 2025. Well, actually they were going to suspend this service for 6 months starting June of 2024. I purchased a ticket for this train almost 6 months ahead of time at the end of March, and I had no idea that there was such an imminent threat to my travel plans. I'm so glad it didn't happen. We're now approaching Brussels South Station. There's a strange fence with barbed wires enclosing a track. I'm not sure but I think it might have to do with the trains coming from the Netherlands having to disembark passengers for UK passport control here. Just by looking from the train, this station doesn't look very impressive to me, especially for a city that is de facto capital of EU.
De Eurostar treinservice, de 9126, in de richting van Rotterdam Centraal en onze eindbestemming Amsterdam Centraal. Onze verwachte aankomsttijd in Rotterdam Centraal zal zijn rond 3:32 en onze verwachte aankomsttijd in Amsterdam Centraal zal zijn rond 4:15.
I saw a lot of heavy construction going on in the city. This city is hopefully only going to get better. A lot of the central functions of the EU are concentrated in Brussels, and tens of thousands of people are working here for EU. And not only that, the NATO headquarters is also located in Brussels. This is a small city with a population about 200,000, but I see in the future this city being also the transportation hub with direct high-speed rail connection to most of Europe. The train has now left Brussels and heading towards the Netherlands. Eurostar's Netherlands service started in 2018, so it hasn't been that long. I hope they'll be able to fix the infrastructure soon so that there'll be smooth and seamless high-speed service between Brussels and Amsterdam. But unfortunately, I think it might take 10 years or even longer. You know how major infrastructure public works go. I also said earlier that Eurostar is making some slight changes in their service this November. I suspect that has to do with November 2024 being the 30th anniversary of Eurostar service. It was May of 1994 when the Eurotunnel between UK and France was opened, and Eurostar passenger rail service began operating between Waterloo International Station in London and Paris North Station, as well as Brussels South Station the following November. In November 2007, the London terminal moved from the Waterloo Station to St. Pancras International Station. At the time, Eurostar was connecting Paris and Brussels to London. High-speed rail service connecting Paris to Brussels to Cologne and Amsterdam was operated by a joint venture between France and Belgium called Thalys. In October 2023, following the merger of Thalys and Eurostar, the Thalys service was replaced with Eurostar. I remember taking the Thalys train a couple of times, Cologne-Paris and Paris-Amsterdam. The distinct red color on both the outside and inside of the train. I'm not sure if I liked the interior though. It felt pretty stuffy. There were two classes, standard and first class, and the first class ticket was much less expensive than Eurostar, as even I was able to afford it. During the service from Cologne to Paris, they served a cold meal before Brussels, and there was a snack service after Brussels. Now let's compare the services then and now. This is the cold meal I received on this train. A few small pieces of chicken, orzo salad, and a dollop of cheese, bread, and dessert. This is the cold meal I received on the Thalys train. A separate dish of cheese appetizer, the main dish with a large piece of chicken and mashed potatoes, bread, and dessert. This is the snack service I received on this train, a bag of crunchy savory snack, plus apple juice that was served later. I asked for orange juice, but they did not have it. This is the snack service I received on the Thalys train, a chocolate tart and coffee served on a porcelain dish and a real cup with a metal spoon. My trip on this Thalys train was April 2017. As you can see, there has been a slight decline in the service quality. The first class ticket for the Thalys train from Cologne to Paris was $80 then. Now for a premium class or Eurostar Premier class ticket from Cologne to Paris is between $157 and $220. On this route, there's no meal service in the comfort class. It just says buy on board, same as standard. For the premium class, the description only says a gourmet meal, does not say hot meal. So assume the Thalys first class was comparable to the premium class on Eurostar. As you can see, while the service quality has declined slightly, the ticket price has gone up double or even close to triple in some cases. This is a route that used to be served by Thalys. The ticket prices on the original Eurostar route between Paris and London are really outrageous. Now that Thalys has been taken over by Eurostar, what's the next target? Perhaps Lyria that connects between Paris and Zurich? Or perhaps Paris-Barcelona route? I'm sure there are some demands for direct high-speed train services connecting those major European cities. And I'm sure there's a lot of pressure on the Netherlands to develop their rail infrastructure quickly so that there's seamless high-speed connection between Brussels and Amsterdam. As I sit here enjoying my final segment of my ride today, going less than half the top speed, but enjoying the pretty window views of the Netherlands, I have mixed feelings about this. I am not the kind of traveler whose sole purpose is to get to the destination in the fastest way possible. The only reason I am riding this train today from London to Amsterdam is to enjoy the train ride. To me, this is plenty fast enough to be efficient and yet slow enough to appreciate the beautiful window views. I mentioned earlier that this year is the 30th anniversary of Eurostar. It is also the 60th anniversary year of the Japanese Shinkansen. Shinkansen service first began between Tokyo and Osaka in October of 1964. Unlike Europe, the Japanese Shinkansen has its own dedicated rail built specially for it with wider gauge than the rest of the railway network. This allows the Shinkansen trains to maintain the top speed throughout. And for that purpose, the Shinkansen track has to be built as straight as possible. As you know, Japan is very densely populated, but 70% of Japan is mountains and flatland area is scarce. That means the Shinkansen tracks must be built through the mountains with lots and lots of tunnels. Decades ago, there used to be a lot of regular intercity trains that are comfortable and fast enough, but still offered some great scenic views. But as they built new Shinkansen tracks everywhere, those intercity trains began to disappear. By the way, we just stopped at Rotterdam, and a lot of people got off. There also used to be many night trains for longer distances from Tokyo, but they're all gone as well. The joy of train travel has been replaced with fast and efficient means of just getting from point A to point B. Some of the same things are happening in Europe. For example, in order to achieve higher speed and efficiency, tunnels are being built through the mountains, and trains running over scenic mountain passes are being abolished. Switzerland's Gotthard-based tunnel, the Pajares-based tunnel in northwestern Spain that just opened last year, or the Brenner-based tunnel between Austria and Italy that is currently under construction are a few of the examples. So, in this important anniversary year for both Europe's Eurostar and the Japanese Shinkansen, I have mixed feelings and certain nostalgia about train travel. I know the whole world is combating climate change, and electric trains play a significant role in reducing carbon emission from airplanes and automobiles, and to compete with short-haul flights, high-speed rail is key. But one hopeful sign in Europe is that they think high-speed rail is not the only answer. Austria's OBB is upgrading their nightjet trains and launching some new night train routes, such as from Vienna to Rome. There's a new night train operator, European Sleeper, a Belgian-Dutch cooperative running services such as Brussels to Prague. Night trains do have pros and cons, the obvious disadvantage being that you can't enjoy the views most of the way, but it has its own charm too. Do you like sleeper trains? United States is not known for its passenger rail service. Amtrak was only founded in the 1970s, and their version of high-speed service called Acela only began in the year 2000 between Washington, D.C. and New York. Acela's top speed is only 240 kilometers per hour, not up to the level of Europe or Japan. Even so, Amtrak is adding some new routes on the existing rail network, and a brand new high-speed route between Los Angeles and Las Vegas is now under construction, so it is hopeful.
Dames en heren, binnen enkele ogenblikken komen we aan op station Amsterdam Centraal. Dit is onze eindbestemming. Wanneer u deze trein verlaat, laat u alsjeblieft iets achter in de trein en let op voor de opening tussen de trein en het perron. Namens het treinpersoneel aan boord wil ik u bedanken voor het reizen met de Eurostar vandaag. We wensen u een aangenaam verblijf in Amsterdam en bovendien u mogen verwelkomen bij ons.
Well, we are approaching Amsterdam, and my Eurostar ride is coming to an end. It has been a fun ride, and I enjoyed reflecting on my thoughts and feelings about train travel. Whatever happens in the future, I hope I will still get to experience many more train rides.
Victoria. Left, Victoria. That's it.
The train arrived at Amsterdam pretty much on time, as I was reluctantly getting out of my seat and getting ready to get off. I kept wondering what my next train adventure is going to be. Thank you so much for watching and listening. Until next time, goodbye.